Joined now by Syracuse alum and ESPN baseball expert Jeff Passan. Jeff, thanks for joining me, and I'll start off with the same question I'm asking everyone here. Super Bowl, who you got, Chiefs or the Eagles?
Chiefs, like, is that even a question at this point? Now, granted, full disclosure, I live in Kansas City. I am a Chiefs season ticket holder, so I am both morally and financially obligated to answer Chiefs, but I actually also believe that they're going to win this game, which has me a little nervous as a fan because, like, going into a game feeling confident, I just know how that turns out. I lived in Cleveland. I covered Syracuse sports. Like, I've seen the downside of where confidence goes, but I look, they have the greatest quarterback ever, and I know better than to bet against Patrick Mahomes.
So, having season tickets, how often do you actually, with your workload, do you get to go to actually all the games?
Not all of them. I pick and choose, but it was really more to get to spend some time with my older son, who is a very large Chiefs fan and who's going to be going off to college soon himself. So I was like, how better to do it than watch Patrick Mahomes 5 or 6 times a year, and uh, especially like for the playoff games. It's the beauty of having season tickets that you're guaranteed a postseason ticket. And look, I've seen plenty of really good Chiefs playoff games. And there was just another one last week, and I'm very sorry, Central and Western New York. I know it didn't turn out how you were hoping for it to, but that's what happens when you face Pat Mahomes, and you guys know that better than anyone.
So when you're watching Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team, what makes you think? What makes them so good? Really, I mean, they just keep winning games.
Yeah, early on in Mahomes' career, it was so much about the physical ability that he has. He threw an incredible deep ball. He had great precision. He had feel in the pocket. Just as sort of all those natural skills that you want to see a quarterback have. But I think over time, what he's developed is leadership and is this innate ability to win. And look, I've been writing about sports for, if we include my time at the Daily Orange, well over a quarter century at this point. And there's so much that I don't know. But the one thing, if you said to me, um, if you can learn anything about sports, what would it be? My answer would be what makes winners win. And I feel like Patrick Mahomes has evolved into a winner and somebody who just has this innate ability to go and figure out not the bare minimum of what he needs to do, but figure out what is it going to take for me to win this game and how do I get my team to this point, whether it is pushing them, whether it's dragging them along, or whether it's riding with them in a beautiful limousine. Whatever it is, Pat Mahomes is going to figure out how he has to do it and go out and execute that. And it's what he's done all year. It's what he's done his entire career.
So for your job at ESPN, I mean, you're the guy that people look to whenever there's a trade, a signing, pretty much any news. It seems like you get it out first. I have to ask. I know you don't like revealing your secrets, but how do you get that news out so fast?
Well, when it comes to football, I rely on Adam Schefter. So, but how? Oh man, I mean, years and years of work, and it really all comes down to relationships. You have to ask yourself a fundamental question: do you give people a reason to trust you? And I think when you have those relationships and people understand that you're coming from a good noble place and uh, you're not trying to do anything to get traffic or to get likes or anything like that, but the news and the facts are the most important thing. They understand that you're in it for a noble reason, and it doesn't help that a lot of people follow me. It certainly has a self-feeding apparatus there, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to can people trust you? And thankfully, a fair number of people do trust me
Do you ever feel like you're working against the clock or against other reporters to get the news out the quickest?
every damn day. Like the only part of that question that I don't agree with is there is no clock because the job is ceaseless. I'm working all the time, and listen, that's what the DO taught me. That this industry, it does not stop for anyone. It doesn't stop for birthdays. Doesn't stop for holidays. Doesn't stop for anything at all. And so, yeah, every time I have something and I'm getting ready to put it out, I'm just hoping that an alert doesn't pop up on my phone that someone else got it.
So since it is a kind of a 24-hour, 7 day a week job, how do you manage your work life and then not let it take over your personal life and have that time as well?
It's hard, because the most important thing isn't the work. Like, the work is behind my older son, my younger son, my wife, uh, my dog. Like, they're the important people and creatures in my life, and there are going to be times a year where it's completely out of whack and completely out of balance. The trade deadline is manic, and the off season. In other sports, it sounds kind of awesome to have free agency be done with like after a few days. In baseball, I've been going from November 1st to now. So it's a little different in baseball in that transactions just never end. And we still have in Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso, two big names out on the free agent market. So uh, you have to really actively choose to find balance because otherwise the job and the gravity of it will just suck you right in and turn you into a one track person. And that's just not something I have any desire to be.
And I mean, you cover all this fast news, but you also get to cover some real good stories as well. What type of stories do you really enjoy covering, and has there been any that really stick out to you as, hey, that this is probably my favorite piece?
Yeah, I love human stories. That's why I got into the business to just tell stories about people and what their lives are like. And are they relatable or are they extraordinary or are they, anywhere in between there? And uh, as the news breaking thing has become more of my focus, those sorts of stories have become less and less frequent. So I really enjoy and appreciate the opportunity to tell those still. I would say that the best story I've ever done and probably will ever do was on a baseball player named Drew Robinson, who shot himself in the head uh, and survived. And ever since has really been trying to figure out purpose in his life. And the story is not just about how he survived an attempted suicide, but what has come of it since then. And it's a remarkable piece, not because of anything I did, but because the story itself shows all the depths of emotions that we can have, the triumph and the just absolute pain and misery and figuring out who you are. It's all very relatable things, and I think Drew's a wonderful model, and what he's turned his life into is really incredible.
I know you're the big baseball guy now. Has it always been baseball what you wanted to cover?
I just wanted to cover sports, man, but I got lucky that I got to do baseball. I mean, my first job out of college, I was covering college basketball and doing NFL on weekends, and I've had the privilege of covering four Olympics, and I've covered the Stanley Cup Finals and golf majors. So I've kind of done just about everything, and baseball happens to be the sport that I love the most, and I'm lucky enough to still be doing it after 20 something years now.
I know you wrote a book, Death to the BCS, co-authored that.
I sure
Playoff
did.
just wrapped up. Is this the solution?
I mean, we wanted a 16 team playoff. 12 is better than none. 12 is better than four. But what we were trying for, myself, Dan Wetzel, and Josh Peter, my co-authors, what we really believed was that there needed to be some sort of equitable solution that didn't allow those smaller college programs to just fade into oblivion. That we want not just like group of five schools, because that didn't exist at the time, but you want like small conferences to have representation in there, because like imagine Appalachian State beating Michigan. Like we've seen this sort of thing before, and it resonates years and years and years later. So I love the idea of having a playoff that has more Cinderella possibilities. That being said, what we've got right now, it's a whole hell of a lot better than the BCS was. And I do not normally celebrate deaths. That one I did.
And I know you mentioned you writing for the Daily Orange back at Syracuse. How did SU impact you beyond just the degree?
I turned into a real functioning human being. And I did, it's not like I showed up on campus like a blob of goo and formed into something else, but you learn how to adult when you go to college, and you learn how to interact with people and have real relationships. And Syracuse fostered all of those things. It allowed me to spend the last 7 semesters of my career never having a Friday class and never having a class before 10 o'clock a.m. So shout out to the registrar's office for allowing me to do that. And I spent untold amounts of time at what used to be the DO office, 744 Ostrom Avenue. And those are still, more than half my life later, some of the best memories I've ever had. And I'm still, very good friends with plenty of people who I spent those hours with in that office.
I know when we caught up in Kansas City, you told me one thing you try to do in your work is never let your passion die. Tell me where that came from and how do you live it out?
I remind myself when I get beaten on a story, or when I'm just dead tired because I'm not sleeping very much, that for a living, I get to go to baseball stadiums, talk with baseball players, and have this audience that I never could have fathomed, because I work at ESPN and because we're broadcast all around the world. So all of us have those woe is me moments. It's just inevitable in your life, but I try to have a good perspective on it, and I think passion goes a long way. Like, I love what I do. I can say this confidently, and it's kind of obnoxious, but it's true. I have never felt burned out one day in this job. And considering that this job is a raging fire at all times, it feels like maybe I'm entitled to that, but it's just never been there. Like, I still, after all these years, absolutely love what I
I know you're sitting in the Costco parking lot right now. What's on the grocery
do.
list?
Well, having a 17-year-old and a 17-year-old athlete at that means that you need to purchase lots of meat. At all times, there needs to be protein in the house. So I am going to walk out with steak, ground beef, chicken thighs, some sort of pork product, probably some fish, bag of shrimp, and I might get a vegetable or two. But no, this is just a total carnivorous run for me. And by the way, why is a Costco parking lot like completely crowded at 1:50 in the afternoon on a Friday? Can you answer me that question, Riley? I do not understand this.
I don't think I can. I don't know.
All
You're
right.
so I mean maybe that would explain it.
I mean, perhaps in time, the wisdom that you find from being in this industry will translate to your ability to answer that question. But for now, I appreciate you having me, and I'm going to go buy some meat.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us.
My pleasure, Riley. Thanks for having me.